She had gone to give her husband his lunch that afternoon and was leaving the plantation when Udeme arrived. "Oh, what a goddess my eyes have beheld!" Udeme exclaimed immediately he saw Udwak. "Please be my wife," he said, and held her hands. Welcome to Iyagba's Epic Tales. The title of today's story is Udeme, the man who married an old witch. Once upon a time, there lived a young man named Udeme. Udeme was the only son of a wealthy chief. Chief Umbotidem, for that was his father's name. Chief Umbotidem was the wealthiest man in the village and even amongst the neighboring villages. He had amassed so much wealth and was also very popular and well respected. As a result of his father's wealth, Udeme was over-pampered as a child. He was given whatever he wanted, and so he grew up to be a wayward and an overbearing young man. He was proud and arrogant. He got himself personal guards and servants to do his biddings. His father was getting old and weak, and as his father's only child and heir, he controlled all that his father has. One thing Udeme was notorious for was his womanizing lifestyle. Udeme loved beautiful women and cannot control himself whenever he set his eyes on one. He would jump from one beautiful woman to another. He considers and calls himself a demigod, for he was blessed with good looks and great body. "Only a god can be as wealthy and good looking as I am," he boasted. And because of his wealth and looks, he got many covetous ladies to his bed easily. This lifestyle of Udeme hindered him from choosing a wife while all his peers got married. "You will be 38 years old few months from now. You are way past a child. You have to get a wife for yourself and raise your own family," Chief Umbotidem told Udeme one evening. Udeme could sense the seriousness in his father's voice. He also knew that his father was right, as he needed to get married someday. So, he made up his mind to settle down. Udeme had seen and been with many different women and could not make up his mind on whom to choose as wife. But one thing was certain for him. He wants to marry the most beautiful woman on earth. So, he asked his mother and his best friend, Akpan, to look for the most beautiful woman in his village and within the environs, as it is only the most beautiful woman he would marry, he said. A week later, his mother brought a young maiden to him. Her name was Eno. Eno was indeed so beautiful that her beauty got Udeme excited when he saw her. He immediately declared that he likes Eno and was ready to marry her. A day was fixed for the dowry payment, and everyone from both families were ready and looked forward to the day. 2 days to the day of the dowry payment, Udeme and Akpan were returning from a friend's house when they saw a young woman walked past them and greeted. The woman was so beautiful, and she appeared more beautiful than Eno. "I have seen my wife," Udeme exclaimed. "Your wife? But I can't see Eno anywhere around," Akpan said. "Not Eno," Udeme replied. "There, that is my wife," Udeme said, pointing at the young woman afar off who had just walked past them. "You and this your silly jokes," Akpan said, laughing, and ward it off. But Udeme was serious and wasn't joking. As he went home and told his parents that he was no longer interested in marrying Eno, for he had seen another woman. Early the next day, Udeme went to the area he had found the young woman from the previous evening and got information about her. He learnt that the name of the woman was Ekaite, and he was elated when he was told that she was unmarried. Udeme's parents tried to reason with their son and begged that he sticks to marrying Eno and not embarrass her and the family. But Udeme would not listen. He refused to shop for the dowry payments, and so the marriage plan between him and Eno was cancelled. They started making another plans for the marriage between him and Ekaite, and a day for the dowry payments was also fixed. Abasiama was a young girl who had just moved to the village from another village to live with her grandmother after the untimely death of her parents. A week to Udeme and Ekaite's engagement ceremony, Udeme saw Abasiama on her way back from the farm with her grandmother. Abasiama's beauty was far beyond that of Ekaite. I am sure you can guess what Udeme's action would be. Well, you guessed right. Udeme changed his mind about marrying Ekaite also, and pronounced that it is Abasiama whom he now wants to marry. He cancelled his marriage plans with Ekaite and made plans to marry Abasiama. But he ended up not marrying her also when he saw another girl whom he considered more beautiful. And that was how Udeme continued. He would see a very beautiful girl and say he wants to marry her, but would change his mind when he sees another girl he thinks is more beautiful than the one he had. This went on for some time, and Udeme disappointed 9 women in the space of 6 months. It is only the most beautiful woman on earth I must marry. No other man's wife should be more beautiful than the woman I would marry, because I am a demigod and every other man is lesser to me, Udeme would always say whenever his friends and parents begged him to just settle for one woman. Udwak was another young beautiful woman who was from a village that was 2 villages away from Udeme's village. Chief Umbotidem had purchased a palm plantation in that village few years back, and so Udeme had gone to inspect the palm plantation. Udwak was the wife of one of the men Chief Umbotidem had employed to work in his palm plantation. She had gone to give her husband his lunch that afternoon and was leaving the plantation when Udeme arrived. "Oh, what a goddess my eyes have beheld!" Udeme exclaimed immediately he saw Udwak. "Please be my wife," he said, and held her hands. "I am married to another and cannot be your wife," Udwak replied. And at that moment, Udwak's husband came forward and interrupted what Udeme was about to say next. Udeme returned to his village and back home, but he could not eat nor sleep that night. According to him, he had never beheld such beauty before. "She is a goddess and the most beautiful woman on earth. She should be my wife as a demigod. How can a pauper and my own employee have the most beautiful woman? There is no way I would allow such. I would have to look for a way to make her mine," Udeme said. The next day, he returned to Udwak's village and offered her gifts. He also promised her much wealth if she would leave her husband and agree to be his wife. But Udwak refused and rejected everything. This got Udeme infuriated, as no woman had ever said no to him. His parents and friends advised Udeme against it, as it was a taboo for a man to take another man's wife. But Udeme would not listen. Udwak is too beautiful for me to let go, he said. Few weeks later, Udwak's husband went missing. A search party was organized to look for him. They searched for him everywhere but could not find him. Eventually, they found the clothes which he had worn on the day he went missing, stained with blood. He must have been attacked and eaten by a wild animal, everyone concluded, and so a burial ceremony was organized for him. A month after the burial ceremony, Udeme went to Udwak. "You are now a widow. Allow me marry you," he said, but Udwak still refused. However, after 15 months of mourning her husband, Udwak decided to bow to Udeme's constant pressure and agreed to marry him. All was set for the marriage ceremony between Udeme and Udwak, which would happen in few days, when Udeme caught sight of a very beautiful maiden one evening. From a distance, Udeme could see her skin glow. She swung a well-defined waist and hips as she moved. And when she got closer to where Udeme was, she smiled at him, making Udeme eye in ecstasy. "I thought Udwak was a goddess. I was wrong, for I have seen the true goddess of beauty. Woe betides me if I don't have her," he said. But before Udeme could come out of his thoughts, the young woman was no longer there. The next day, Udeme went and stood at the path he had seen the young maiden from the previous day. And after waiting for some time, the young woman came around. "Is this goddess called by a name?" Udeme asked, trying to tease her. "I am not goddess. My name is Nse," the young woman replied. "Be my wife, Nse, and I will make you a goddess, for I am a demigod," Udeme said in his usual boastful manner. "But you are about to get married," Nse replied. "I will cancel the marriage," Udeme said. And so, Udeme announced to his family that he was no longer interested in marrying Udwak. "You cannot do that. We don't know this Nse girl. Where did she come from? And who are her family?" his parents and concerned friends asked. But as expected, Udeme would listen to no one. He cancelled his marriage plans with Udwak and set a new date to marry Nse. At last, the day came and Udeme and Nse got married. Everyone was relieved. He has settled down with one at last, they all said. On the evening of their wedding, Udeme made love passionately to Nse, but while he was at it, he started feeling excruciating pains in his manhood. He stopped and realized that his manhood has increased in size. It was 20 times bigger and heavier, and the pain he felt was unbearable. Udeme let out a loud cry, and then Nse started laughing. And while she laughed, she transformed into an old, ugly, fearful-looking woman. Her teeth were long and brown. Udeme's cry made everyone rush into his room, and everyone was in shock as to the horrible sight they met him. "I am the old witch of the dark night," Nse, who had now transformed into an old woman, said. Udeme's lust for beautiful women made him try to kill a man because he wanted to take his wife, and that is why I have come to teach him a lesson, she revealed. On that day, Udeme had lured Udwak's husband to the bush and tried to kill him by hitting him with an axe on his head. But Udwak's husband was saved just in time by an hunter who was passing by. And so, when Udwak's husband regained consciousness, the hunter had taken him to a juju man who called on the witch of the dark night to help him deal with Udeme. After all this revelation, the old witch told Udeme that he had now married her and had consecrated their marriage, and so he would remain with her as her husband all his life in a cage in the evil forest. And before Udeme and his family could plead for mercy, the old witch disappeared with Udeme. And in what looked like a second, Udeme found himself in a dark cage. He regretted his actions and wished he had listened to all the advice given to him and had just chosen one of the women then instead of chasing after every beautiful woman. Udwak and her husband reunited, but no one ever saw or heard of Udeme again, for he remained in the dark cage as the old witch's husband. His story is used to teach young people in the village till this day that greed destroys and that not all that glitters is gold. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story. Did you learn anything from this story? I would like to know. Please share in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. See you in our next video. Bye.